Welcome to Voices from Below, a podcast where we share the real stories and experiences of miners. Our aim is to foster understanding and positive change by highlighting personal experiences and insights without focusing on specific individuals or organizations. The views shared here are personal and not necessarily those of the podcast team. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're talking with Austin, a Longwall Electrician working underground in Alabama. Austin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here.
Could you start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what you do?
Name's Austin. I'm 27. I'm a Longwall Electrician at a mine in Alabama. Longwall is the most cost-effective and producing method of coal production. I'm the one that fixes it when it breaks, which it does pretty constantly.
Yeah. And could you walk me through like a typical shift as a Longwall electrician in your mind? And like maybe what are some of the unique challenges you face in fixing it or anything along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We go underground at 3 o'clock. We get on the elevator right at 1,200 feet down. We get on buses. Our mine's rubber tire. They pretty much look like big Hummers. We take those around. Right now, it's about 4.5 miles from the bottom of the elevator to where we're working at. It takes about an hour to get there. We take off. We get there. We change out with the day shift crew, and we'll sit around, figure out a plan of what we're going to do for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Once we do that, it's pretty much wide open. First thing we do is we go up. Any of the hoses that are blowed, we'll go change hoses, we'll fix leaks, just kind of hang around, work on little things here and there. If the shear goes down, we'll take off the shear, try to fix it, get it back going as soon as we can. They say it costs about $5,000 a minute per minute of production.
Wow.
Yeah, so as soon as that thing quits producing coal, it's all hands on deck to get it back running as quick as we can.
You mentioned that you guys are mining coal, but specifically, what type of coal and what's the uses for it?
The coal we mine is high grade metallurgical coal. We're mining the Blue Creek seam, and I've heard a lot of people say that it's the best coal in the world.
Wow.
It's used for steel making, and they say when it burns, it's so saturated with methane gas that it doesn't leave any fly ash. It burns off completely.
That is good. That's good stuff, man.
So it's probably the best in the world.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're on the second shift, right?
Yes.
So is there really many differences between what each shift actually does, or is it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same. When they give us our lists of tasks that they want us to do for the night, there'll be a couple of different things they want each shift to do, but the general overview of it is it's pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what would you say, all of this sounds pretty intense. So like what first drawed you to doing this work? And like, how would you say it's evolved since you started? I think it was 3 years ago.
Yeah. Well, what got me into it? I never wanted to go underground my entire life. I fell into it. The company I was working for went out of business, and one of their guys went to work for another place running crews, working underground. He called me in and asked a favor. Hey, would you mind coming to work for me for a little bit? I'm real short-handed. And I said, yeah, man, I don't mind. I guess I'll come work for a little while until I find something better. And
yeah,
I have 3 years
That's how
later.
It goes, right? So would you have envisioned yourself being here that long or
No, absolutely not. Before this, I averaged about 8 W-2s a year from 6 different states.
Wow.
And it just kind of fell into place.
Yeah. And is it something that you see yourself doing moving forward, or are you going to try and transition out? I mean, obviously, can't be entirely sure, but how do you see that? for yourself?
I'm gonna try to stay here. I'm gonna try to stay in the mines as long as I can. I actually really enjoy it. It's hard to see myself doing anything else.
And what exactly what do you get the most enjoyment out of? What specifically is the best part of your work that you're doing right now?
Man, to be honest with you, it's the pay, the insurance, the group of people you work with.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to become closer with the group of guys you work with than your own family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are most of the people that you're working with, did they grow up pretty close by, or are they from generally different areas?
It's a mix. You've got a lot of guys that grew up 10, 15 minutes away. Then you've got guys that live 2 hours away and drive that every day from work.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got a lot of guys that come from Illinois, West Virginia, Kentucky.
Could we just take a step back for 1 second and just go over specifically one of your other jobs that you're doing? So you said that you set up, tear down, and also move longwalls, right?
Yes, sir.
And that seems to me to be a pretty complex process. So can you just walk us through that, through what that exactly involves and how that affects the mining operation overall?
It's a process, to be sure. The continuous miner sections, while they're cutting, they pretty much cut you out a big slab of coal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the way this panel right here works is it's 1,500 feet long, and I believe 2 miles. 1,500 feet wide, 2 miles chains long. So basically, your continuous miner section will cut you out a big slab of coal. This one is a big rectangle, pretty much just a solid coal block. And when your long wall just runs back and forth, it takes nothing but pure coal out of it.
Wow.
And once you get to the end of that big block of coal, that panel's done with. You're mined out. But while you're running the wall, we run 2 continuous miner sections that are developing the next 2 longwall panels for us. We actually run 3. You have one section that runs your main, where your panels are off of, and have 2 panels being drove at one time, just to have a place for us to go.
Mm-hmm.
Once you finish cutting your panel, they cut the chain, face chain. They pull your drives out, get them out of the way, pull your chain out of the pan.
Mm-hmm.
They pull all your pan line out. Then once all your pan line's pulled, you start pulling your shields. Our longwall face is 218 shields long.
Wow. And how long does that take to get each panel?
It just depends on the length of the panel.
Mm-hmm. If you were to say like typical, day on the job, how long do you think it would take for the average panel?
Around a year, a little more, a little less.
Okay. So we're definitely talking a pretty good amount of time. And are you guys having to physically dig out that area where that panel's getting taken out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. There's not a lot. Well, I'm not going to say there's not a lot of physical labor, but coal mining, it's not anything like most people think it is. They got heavy machinery that does most of the work.
Mm-hmm. Does that machinery ever get in the way of you guys actually working? Is it pretty dangerous, or is it pretty safe for the most part to be down there with all of it?
It's pretty safe. In my mind, it's pretty safe as long as you have a little bit of common sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is things like on the continuous miners, you have a proximity sensor that you wear, everybody on the section wears, and then if that mining machine gets too close to you, it stops.
Mm. So then, have you had any close calls with that, where the sensor's picking that up with you or your buddies or anything like that, where it got a little too close?
Me personally, I haven't, but I have known some folks that have.
Okay. But you would say, yeah. But for the most part, if you're just thinking pretty rationally, it shouldn't be that bad. Okay. Yeah,
accidents and stuff do happen. I mean, they happen every single day. But for the most part, it's a fairly safe job.
So yeah, speaking about actual equipment, how often would you say you're having to repair most of this machinery down there? Is it pretty common, or are breakdowns or any sort of malfunctions not very common in your day-to-day work?
A lot of it, you'll have little things here and there. You'll have hydraulic hoses blow, or you'll have, just little things like that here and there. But for the most part, it runs pretty good.
Mm-hmm. 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 And is that generally, would you say the hydraulic hoses, is that the most common issue, or are there other pretty common issues that are the big factors that you're generally doing most days or weeks or however many times you're having to repair any of this stuff?
Honestly, the hose is the most common part. They wear, they'll come loose or they'll blow completely. That's about 95% of what I do.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything down there that, let's say, you guys can't directly fix, that you need to actually, bring above ground or anything like that?
It takes a very, very big project to have to go outside.
Okay. So in yours, you wouldn't say that you're having to actually do that?
Not very often. Now, if it's bad enough, we'll send it outside. The only thing I've seen is we have not been able to fix underground was the frame of a miner that cracked in half one time.
Okay. And I know that, like, when you're I've watched, and I'm sure some of the people listening to this podcast have, some of the videos of this stuff happening. It seems like, I see, the coal, coming down massively from the actual face and all that. And it seems like there would be a good amount of stuff getting like dust or anything like that circulating in the air. Do you encounter most of that, or is that not really true of where you work? Is there not that much that you guys are breathing in, or do you have masks, or how does that stuff work?
Yeah, we have, on Longwall, with it just being a pretty much 1,500-foot long straight shot, if you're downwind of the shear, it can get pretty dusty. But they give you masks, they give you respirators if you want them. Once a quarter, everybody has to wear a dust monitor. How much dust you're exposed to. So they try to make sure it's safe, make sure that you're not breathing in too much dust.
And have you, or again, any of your other friends had any issues with, breathing in too much dust, or, any health concerns that have sprouted from that? Has that come up yet, or has it not really been a big deal?
Nobody's really had any negative effects of it that I know, that I'm aware of. I haven't been doing it that long. I've only been there about 3 years.
But you wouldn't say it's a big deal so far, at least.
Yeah. They try to do everything they can to mitigate that, where you're not breathing in the dust. But
okay, yeah, and kind of following along those lines. So you're saying that so you have the two different monitors for the accidents and the dust, but obviously safety is a major concern, and I would say most mining. So other than those two things that you've already mentioned, are there any other important safety practices that you guys partake in at all?
Pretty much, you want to stay under supported top. You don't ever want to go out somewhere where the top's not supported. Most people, just about everybody, you have if you're on the miner section, you have your proximity detector, you have your dust monitor, which you don't wear a dust monitor every day. It's just something that happens once.
Is it just close to the active face? Is that who mainly wears them, or no? Yeah, because if you're out by, you're out in the fresh air, you're not, dust isn't an issue. You're not breathing in any dust. Okay, yeah, so you're not. And is your current role, or would that be a big concern, or are you not? Do you not wear as much, let's say, with dust monitors and all that?
I have to wear the dust monitor whenever it comes time to wear them.
Okay, so you have that for the most part. So yeah, so is there any concerns of, let's say, collapses or anything like that, or would you say that your guys' protocols make that basically impossible for the most part?
Well, I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but it's not something. We have really good rock above us.
Mhm.
We have really good top, and we have a pretty good bolt plan. I think it's
Yeah.
not something we deal with.
Mhm.
Every now and again you'll have a few rocks fall out here and there, but they're small, like in between the roof bolts. You'll have one fall out somewhere, but it's not much of a concern where we're at.
Got it. Okay. And yeah, I mean, you've had a lot of roles in this so far. Even just in 3 years. You've spent time on the active phase, handled breakdowns, moved long walls. Would you say there's any like particular project or moment or anything like that stands out to you for being challenging, rewarding, exciting, anything like that throughout your career so far?
Probably gonna be the Longwall moves, man.
Okay.
That's by far one of my favorite things to do.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the most important qualities for someone to be good at what you do, and also to enjoy what you do with that?
I'll tell you, the thing I enjoy the most about it is it's something you can see that has a tangible result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's when they go to pulling shields, it's a pretty big competition between 3 shifts.
Wow. Yeah.
Who can pull the most shields? Who can haul the most shields? Who can set the most shields?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty big competition. They put a big banner. They put 3 banners up, one per each shift, out on one of the big walls, and they're marking off who's pulling the most shields, who's hauling them, who's setting them. It's, you know what I mean? It's a competition.
Yeah. So would you say that for the most part your job wouldn't be as fun without that competition?
I think, man, you'd have to know the kind of guys that work in an underground coal mine. I think even if the bosses and the management didn't encourage it, I do believe you'd still have that competition to see who's going to be better.
Yeah. And between you and me, what shift's the best generally?
Oh, evening shift all day, man. We've won production. We have won production leader every month for the past 3 years, and the last 3 longwall moves, we have won all 3 categories each time.
Wow. So how many times, like, would you say you guys in your 3-year career have moved on the longwall?
We've moved 3 of them.
3 of them. Okay. So about what, once a year or something along those lines, or
yeah, about one per year.
1 per year. Okay. So that's pretty consistent with what you said before. Let's just say someone that just gets straight into coal mining, especially in, let's say, a more technical role like yours. What would you say is the most important piece of advice that you could give based on your experience for anything that they should know going into any of this stuff?
My biggest piece of advice to give is just always keep your head on a swivel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you never know. Just about everything we do, you're always around a lot of big equipment that's always moving.
Yeah, and would you say that, like, specifically the guys that you're and maybe gals that you're below with are incredibly important for you feeling safe down there? Like do you feel that they are a big part of your work as well? And if you didn't have people like that you could really rely on, that it just wouldn't be as rewarding, fun, and you couldn't feel as trusting towards the job?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. The guys and girls that I work with are some of the best people I've ever met in my life, and I'd do anything in the world for them, and they'd do the same thing for me.
Would you say, is there anything about your work or, coal mining in general that you think people outside the industry often get wrong about it or don't fully understand about, the work that you're doing or the industry in general?
Yeah, man. a lot of people that I talk to about it, they're kind of mind blown that we're not still using a pick and shovel.
Yeah.
The old Tennessee Ernie Ford song, you load 16 tons, and what do you get? We average about 6,400 tons per shift.
Well, thank you so much, Austin, for sharing all this. I think a lot of this was very insightful. So thank you so much for being on here, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to give the podcast a listen.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Voices from Below. I hope you enjoyed hearing Austin's story as much as I did. We've got more great stories from miners coming soon. If you know anyone who'd like to share their story or have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. And you can reach us at voicesfrombelowpodcast@gmail.com. That is voicesfrombelowpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.